Welcome back to Stitch Files with Barrett in America. I'm Brandon.
I'm Bob.
And we have a new person here.
Well,
he's new to me.
He's not new to me. I've known Charles for a long time, but
Yeah.
he's not new to me. And first of all, he's a friend, and he has a job.
Yeah, which is amazing.
I mean, when he told me he had a job, I'm like,
Good for you, buddy.
Charles. Yeah, that's all right, man.
Yeah, so
I
we
known him when he didn't
Well, I
have
have
a
had
job.
one in the past, too. It's not like my first.
It's not your first.
But in a way, it is.
He was a slow learner. Charles
Yeah.
was a slow learner. It took him a while to get into the workforce. At 60, no, I'm not going to say his age.
Yeah,
He might
want to
later
leave
on.
that out.
So-
So we have Charles Reeves here with the. I already forgot the.
He was
Reeves
president
sales
of
guy.
Reeves.
Yeah, you have too many titles.
Too many, well,
Yeah.
Titles do pay after a while.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'll keep that in mind. I'll make a note.
Yeah.
So just give us an introduction, long or as brief as you'd like, and kind of tell us why you're here.
Again, Charles Reeves, live in North Carolina and have actually my entire life now that I think about it. But my background has always been in the textile business. Mm-hmm. I had 35 plus years with American Eford as a sales representative, and it was a great experience. Back when they hired me, they put you through a year and a half of training, and you worked in every plant, in every operation, and really got to know the product and why you do the things you do and the impact it has to the end customer. And I've always thought of that as just a great way to start a career, not just train somebody for 2 weeks and give them a brochure and
Throw them out to the wolves.
and go at it.
Hey, how did you know? And that's our training program.
Yeah. You want to hear my training program? Here's a laptop,
We're
sucker.
sitting in it right now. Yeah. So I did that, and then that was actually 25 years, and that was 2007. And as a commissioned salesperson, with all my business being in the United States or Central or South America, that all went to China.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
so did the commission.
Yeah.
So nobody knew what was going to happen. And I had a good friend that was after me for a while to work for him in the building supply business. So I did. Toughest decision I've made in my life. But I made the decision to get out of the textile business and try something different, which was great for a year. Then 2008 came.
Yeah.
Building supply was the worst thing you could possibly be in. So that didn't work out real well. I bounced around, and a few years later, A&E called me back and asked me if I was still dead set on being in the textile business, and I didn't want to tell him that I would do anything at this point. But they offered me a job to come back, and as I came back, it was as the national sales manager for the Robeson Anton embroidery division. And that's what I did up until about 2 or 3 years ago when, through acquisitions and private equity takeovers, decisions were made to change the management structure, and my job was eliminated. So I reached out to some good friends out in the industry, and they reached out to me, and I had several opportunities of people that they wanted salespeople, or someone with some experience, and ended up now I'm working for 3 different companies, representing them and their products, and 2 of them are thread companies, and I'm also doing some promotional product work for another friend. So it's been great. And the promotional product side has been interesting because I've always been on or at least 10 years of it, on the embroidery side of things, and selling that product to people who then screen print or embroider. Well, now I'm going back and buying blanks from the same companies I've been going to trade show with for 10 years, and seeing some of the same people I've known and doing the other side, using the products that I used to sell to then make a finished product to sell to somebody else. So it's been kind of a different way of looking in at it. But
you've been on both sides of the coin.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
So when did you get started? What year did you get started in textile industry?
1983.
Okay. So you were here when the good times were good.
The good times and then the bad times. Yeah.
When NAFTA hit.
1983 was a good year.
But that, and to be honest with you, I got into the textile business because, for 2 reasons. The woman that I was dating at the time and intended to marry was from Gastonia, and her family was going to get me a job before they would let me get married. And their best friend was the vice president of sales for A&E
Well, hey,
That
And
worked
they
out.
interviewed me. And what really swung me is of all the people I was interviewing with getting out of college, that was the only company that reimbursed me for my mileage. Sold. And I started a year later, and I tell you, it was great. A&E was a great company at that time.
Yeah, I knew a few of the old A&E people. I don't know why I didn't know you. Well, I didn't get started until '94 in the industry.
Well, back at that time, Bob, I had this area was my sales territory was basically North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia in sections. And I was actually very involved with A&E when they first started. They tried to develop their own embroidery thread called Signature.
Yeah, I
Which
remember.
is
Yeah.
still available
Yeah.
in some markets. And Max Tripp.
I knew Max.
Max was the guy that brought me in, and I was at that time I was selling bobbins, believe it or not, to Liberty Embroidery, and we spent hours up there running sew trials.
Yeah, they had a bunch of Bairdens up there.
Did Champion. We were able to switch Champion over to the Signature product because they were
I
using
remember
the
Champion.
Coach product. They were down in Mexico, and so we actually got the ball up and rolling. But the challenge that I should have learned then was in the embroidery business, people get colors that they use,
Yeah.
and understandably they've got to have that same color. They can't just stop in the middle and swap over.
Right.
So white and black was great, but you really couldn't do much getting somebody to change over colors. And then when I came back in the role of Robes and Anton, your goal was to go get the business from Madeira. Well, it sounds easy at the planning table. But,
Yeah.
And once I got to know the people in the industry and really talking to them, I totally understand why changing colors is such a huge commitment. But some people do. I mean, they have different reasons.
We've said this a lot. Brandon and I have talked about this, but it's embroiderers are set in their ways,
Oh, very much so.
and I'm not saying it's bad, but if you're a new guy trying to get them to try something, it's always like, even with machines, they get used to one particular brand,
Yeah.
and even though their brand may be inferior. Well, if it's not a Bairdin, it is inferior. But I didn't want to really say that. But
say it.
yeah, I wouldn't say it. But just to get them to, and they know you have a better product. It's like, well, my people really like this stuff, and I've heard that a million times.
Well, it's like we talked about last time. You get used to one operating system, one way of doing things.
Yeah.
We're all creatures of habit,
Yeah.
and to kind of get somebody to swing a different way is an uphill battle.
Well, and they've got a huge investment. They've
Sure,
got a lot. Most of the times, their whole career is set up in this thing, and you're asking them to change something that they know is working.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yours might be, is it good or better? And unless you can go there and show them a huge cost savings or a huge improvement in production, it is hard to make a change.
Look, I understand.
I go to the grocery store every week in the same store and buy the same thing all the time. And if I go someplace else, I'm floundering around. I can't
you're
find
like,
anything.
where's the
you,
milk?
you still eat Fruity Pebbles. You've never tried like
That's
Count
right.
Chocula or
That's
anything
right.
else?
No,
You're a
no.
Fruity Pebbles guy.
That's it.
I know you were. You told me that. You said, I eat Fruity Pebbles. He eats Fruity Pebbles for breakfast every morning.
I'm not
And I
believing
said,
that because that's a terrible choice of
No,
cereal.
no. Well, hey, look.
Do you really like Fruity Pebbles?
I don't know. I don't even drink milk, man.
I can't either. It will be a disaster.
But it's
You got to try some Count Chocula every now and then. That's the whole. That's the story.
That's what we're
there.
getting at here.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get people to change.
So when you started with rayon thread, then, right?
No, Signature was polyester.
Was it polyester?
And I've always been an advocate of polyester over rayon.
Well, me too. But again,
but you
got
can't
a
get
lot. You
people
got
to change.
people that really like that rayon
Yeah.
thread.
And right off the bat, the cost savings is amazing.
Yeah,
And then the UV resistance there's none with rayon.
yeah.
But trying to get, and everybody has got a guru somewhere in their plant, whether it's an operator or a mechanic or the partner, and whatever they say, everybody believes. And it's very, very hard to get a change out of them. But change is scary, but change can be good.
Yeah. Amen on that
We
one.
still have a few customers who sew rayon.
Yeah.
They will not go to polyester. And the biggest reason is it's like, well, that's what we've always used.
Yeah. And the colors, it was a lot more challenging. When polyester
Yeah.
first came out, the colors were not as brilliant.
Yeah.
And there wasn't often good cross reference, but now there is. And I can tell you this: as a thread manufacturer, they'd rather make polyester than rayon. In fact, you can't even make rayon in the United States. You have to import that.
There's too many EPA regulations now.
So it's they ought to just ban the stuff.
ban rayon.
Yeah.
That'll be the theme of the show.
Yeah. My 2024 political stance is ban rayon.
Ban rayon.
Oh.
That's funny.
So, so you went through the whole NAFTA thing too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I got in when things were really good. I mean, we were selling 15 heads like hotcakes. I mean, when I first started for this company, we didn't make single head. It's hard to believe. We made a little thing called a Prosperity Plus, where they, we had the round head machines that you were probably familiar with them, and we put it on a little frame and called that a single head, and we never really took it seriously. I mean, nobody bought them. And then when NAFTA passed and all that stuff, what was it? What's his name? The politician that ran for president, talking about that great sucking sound.
Great sucking sound.
What was his name?
Oh, shoot.
I won't say Leroux, but it's something.
I can see him, and I can.
Wasn't he from Texas?
Texas, yeah.
Oh, it's what's his name's dad? That's in Congress now. What is wrong with me? Can't think of his name. The senator from Kentucky, his father.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Paul.
Well, it's Rand Paul.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul. He said that great sucking sound you're going to hear is all the business going to Texas. He was right about that.
He was right. It all went.
Absolutely right.
Overnight.
But you were talking about Liberty Embroidery and all these big companies. Man, they packed up. They literally packed up within weeks and left. I mean, they were sitting there waiting for this to happen because, which is really, really sad. You remember Liberty probably had 500 people working up there at one time. They did screen printing. They did embroidery. What else did they do? They did something else. Something else to do with textiles. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, Chenille. Did they have Chenille? No. I'm
I know they did embroidery and screen printing.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they had Chenille. I'm thinking about Jubilee Embroidery.
Right.
All those big companies. They left. And then here we were. Nobody wanted to buy 12s and 15s.
Yeah, like what we do with these machines.
Mom and Pop don't want a 12 or 15. First of all, they can't afford it. Second of all, then no place to put it. You don't put one of those in your garage.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
they weren't getting orders for that many pieces of the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember, when I started, it was like Melco was selling the small. Tajima was not selling the small guys. We weren't. Brother and Melco were catering to the small people, because they weren't getting any of that big machine business that we were. And, man, when all that went away, we're like, what do we do now? And we pretty much had to reinvent ourselves. And that's no joke. I mean, we had to scramble and come out with a single head when we first came out with the Elite.
You couldn't just cut one off and make a 14.
Well, it looked like that's what they did. Yeah. But, the name of that machine, nowadays, they ask us, they come out with this, our machines are BEX, BEK, BEV, BED. But when the single head came out, they wanted us to name it. Japan had named it, that first single head. Do you know what they called it?
POS.
Jumbo.
It was a pretty good machine. They called it the Tanto, Tanto. I don't know what that means we called it Tonto, like Lone Ranger sidekick. Yeah. But it was called the Tanto. And I remember a couple years ago, a lady called me about her machine, and I asked her what she had. And she said, well, it's really old. And she said, it's got Tanto marked on it. I said, you got to be kidding me. There weren't that many of those made.
Shit, I'll buy that from you.
I mean, it needs to be in a museum. But we called it the Elite, the first one. Our name was. And I don't know what Tanto meant in Japan, but
I don't
we
know
called it the
either.
Elite, then we called it the Elite Pro, then the Pro 2, Pro 3. So we've kept that Pro name for the single heads. But where am I going with that? I had a point to that.
You were talking about making a machine to cater to people that needed single heads.
Single
Because you didn't have them.
Yeah. So how did that affect your business then?
Not really too much. I mean, the thread was the thread. You talking about going to a single head would not affect a thread supplier, I don't think, other than you have to have a lot of single heads.
Yeah.
but we still said you had about at least 12 cones because that's how we go back. Thread company, we packed all of our cones. Every thread manufacturer, 12
cones,
because that's what it took to thread up the 12 head machine.
Yeah.
So a single head, we would after a while we would sell 1 or 2 cones, but then you end up with now you got 8 cones in a box, and you can't sell an 8 cone. So we tried to avoid that. And it would have affected sales in that you didn't have any more of the big people buying cases at the time.
And you sold bobbins too, right?
We did.
Yeah.
And well, we back then being A&E, they had bobbins, and then ultimately they outsourced the bobbins simply because it's just bobbins are a wicked evil thing that people have to have on a sewing machine. I mean, nobody likes bobbins.
Yeah, I know. And I've had a million people ask me, why can't you just make a big gigantic, or why can't you make a big gigantic bobbin? Yeah. And you explain to them, well, there's geometry that goes and physics to go with this.
There's hooks.
Yeah. And then they said, well, why don't you just run like a big cone of it up to the bottom? I'm like, oh man, it's not the way it works.
It's called a chain stitch machine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what a chenille machine. That's what a chenille machine.
That still would do that.
It's a bottom sewer. And I guess to the layman or the person that doesn't understand it, I guess they think, well, yeah. I understand what they're thinking, but you got to understand they're sewing machines. It's a lock stitch machine.
That's all it is.
That's the only way that it's going to work is one way.
Yeah, you got to lock those 2 threads together.
And I remember we came out with a big bobbin. Remember the big bobbins?
Big M's?
Yeah, remember those? We came out with a jumbo 12 head that used the M series bobbins, and they could never get that machine to sew right. There's something happens when you change the diameter of that hook, and when it tries to make that loop, it throws everything out of whack.
Right, you got to change everything.
It just will not work.
Because if you think how quickly a stitch is set in a millisecond.
Yeah.
And that thread's got to get around a certain amount of space. When that space gets bigger, all of a sudden that millisecond gets longer, and all of a sudden your stitches get longer, and then it doesn't look good.
No.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
I mean, the only way you could do it is probably, I guess you could change the sewing head, but it just never did work. I mean, we made a few of them, and I think we took 2 or 3 of them back because they just would not. They would sew for a little while, then they would just start breaking thread. And it wasn't only us. I mean, every manufacturer's tried it.
Well, there's still some people out there that use M's, but I don't know. Brothers were using them for a while. Some of the Brother machines used M series bobbins. But you don't see. I mean, by far, when I would look at sales, is the L bobbin was the bobbin, and it's a small. I mean, I get it. It's a small little bobbin, and every now and then you'd see people to save money, they'd buy thread and wind their own bobbins. And that would work on a 1 or 2 head machine maybe. But the thing is, with a pre-wound bobbin, you know exactly how many yards is on there.
Right.
So you know that you can stop the machine before you run out of bobbin thread. Even though it might be in the middle of design, you can change all the bobbins out. But if you don't, and every one of them's a little bit different, then what they'd have to do is once one ran out,
change them all.
Change them all.
Yeah.
And which again was fine because boy, they used up a lot of thread that way, or threw out a lot of thread that way.
Well, I mean, there until up until the 2000s, I think probably 2002 or so, we every machine we sold had a bobbin winder with it. Every machine. When did pre-wound bobbins become prevalent? Early 90s?
Probably. Because
a lot of people,
I was not as involved then.
A lot of people back then were still winding their own bobbins.
Yeah.
Back in like 91, 92, 93, up into about 94.
When efficiencies became more important.
Yeah.
And when it became more of a science than just an art. And when it really, really took off, the people get all kinds of stuff embroidered. Promotional products got a lot bigger. It used to be embroidery was just to put, Nike or the swoosh or whatever on. It was just constantly boom, 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 boom. And now all of a sudden people want designs. People want, and it's got to be fancy. I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
The Meistergram used an M series bobbin. Remember the Meistergram?
Yeah, but that was a big old machine too. I mean, you could do
that was a zigzag machine.
You could hoop a lot of big stuff on a Meistergram.
Man, we sold thousands of those things. I mean, as far as doing names, to this day, there's probably nothing that that's any faster. I mean, that machine, 1,800 stitches a minute on names, but that's all it did. I mean, could you do designs on it? Yeah, but imagine doing a fill pattern with zigzag stitches. It just never looked as good as a straight stitch machine. And yeah, it takes a long time too. But man, those are good machines. I'll get a phone call every now and then. Somebody has like an XL 700 or an XLC 800 or 900.
I wonder where a lot of those went. I mean, they just junked after a while, or
they have to be junked because we're the only ones that sold them. I mean, we built them in Cleveland. That's where they were built. That was an American-made machine. That was a, you know, I went to work for McPherson Meistergram, and McPherson Meistergram was the exclusive distributor of Bairden embroidery equipment in North and South America. So when Neil bought, when he started McPherson Meistergram, he bought Meistergram. It used to be called McPherson Incorporated, Neil McPherson. Then he bought Meistergram, which was built in Cleveland. That's how this whole Cleveland thing kind of got started up there. Thad worked for Meistergram.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the guy's name that started it? Anyway, Bairden bought them out, or Neil. No, Bairden bought them out, and then they were building them in the factory up there where they were building the straight stitch machines. And then when the straight stitch machines went back to Japan to be built, Meistergram was still being built in the building there I showed you on Fountain Parkway.
Yeah.
And I think we built the last one in 2002 or 2003. But what happened was people wanted to do regular embroidery too. And there were only probably 4 or 5 people in the United States that could digitize for the Meistergram. And that machine was about $30,000+ that Meistergram was, because it was huge. And it was single needle, zigzag, no trimmers. You had, every time you change colors, you had to rethread it. So, I mean,
how'd you sell any of them?
We sold tons of them. J.C. Penney, Macy's, who's the we were talking about Universe a while ago. They had a slew of them. Things Remembered had them at every mall in America. And anytime you went to a Things Remembered, when they put all those stores in the mall, they always had a Meistergram there, because all they did was personalization. That's all they did.
That's it.
Names.
That makes sense.
Every uniform company in the United States had them. I mean that we sold a ton of those. Thousands upon thousands, and then it just kind of waned. It went away. You know, people said, "Well, we want to do, regular embroidery. We can do."
Yeah, so that's what caused the change, is the designs getting more. People wanting intricate designs and embroidery. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, the Meistergram had stock designs, but again, it
was not personalized if you pull it off the stock shelf.
Yeah. There used to be a couple people out on the West Coast that used to digitize for the Meistergram. One lady up in the Pacific Northwest was really, really good. She was excellent. But then, back then it was probably $100 to get a left chest done. Yeah. So you're going to have to sell a ton of shirts, to make any money doing that. But I don't know. I look back on how the industry has changed. It's still needle and thread, and the machines, even though they're faster, they're quieter, they got a lot more features on them, they still do the same thing.
Yeah, the way a stitch is made is not changed.
It's not changed.
Centuries.
And I always ask people in the industry that I talk to, that I've known for a long time, what's the next big thing in embroidery? And they're just like, we're probably here at it.
Yeah. I mean,
what else can you do?
Try to think way out of the box, but what could you change?
Well, I mean, the thread can only
sew
it so fast. Well, I mean, it can. Can you make the machine so faster? Yeah, you can. But this polyester thread's not. You're gonna have more thread breaks.
Right.
I mean, how would you change the thread to make it and still be able to cut it?
Right.
See, that's the thing. You could make this tougher, right?
Yeah, you can make it tougher. You can make it stronger.
You could probably put a filament in it, I guess.
You can't. Well, then you got
skin
backs.
Then how you going to cut it?
Then you got to cut it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got your trimmers wearing out quicker, and if you could even cut through it.
Yeah, and the cost would double.
Yeah.
So then you improve, but your costs go up, so your sales go down. So
You mentioned Max Tripp a while ago. You ever know what happened to him?
As far as I know, he is still alive and kicking.
Yeah.
I saw him at the last time I saw him, I think was at the last ISS show in Atlanta.
Okay.
And maybe an ISS show since then. And he actually looked pretty good. He'd lost a bunch of weight and was exercising, and he's still Max. I mean, just ball of energy when he comes in and knows everybody whether he does or not. And but the last I have not heard since. I mean, he's not a young man.
Oh, he's got to be in his 80s, isn't he?
I would think. But if I had to guess, I'd say he's still alive. So I don't know.
His wife was really sick.
She passed.
I kind of figured so. She was pretty bad off.
Yeah, she was in bad shape, and she I do know that she passed away, and then I know he's still got a couple of kids, maybe in the Georgia area.
Yeah. Yeah, I know he had a daughter.
Right.
In somewhere Duluth or somewhere down there.
Yeah, but I tell you that he knew a lot about embroidery.
Yeah.
Good Lord. He really helped me learn a lot, even though I didn't really want to.
How long did you work with him?
3 years, maybe 4 years.
That was the latter part of the 90s? Early 2000s?
Early 2000s.
Okay. Because, he was our boss at
Right.
Wilcox and Gibbs.
Yeah, and when all that ended, A&E hired him as a consultant. And then I think ultimately he actually became an employee.
He did, yeah.
And his goal was to push. And it was somewhat of a struggle because, he was trying to do something new with a company that didn't do new stuff. And the embroidery business is completely different than the sewing thread business. Or the sewing machine, apparel business. So it's a whole different, the way you market it, the way you go after it, the end user, what they're concerned about, what they're not concerned about, it's a completely different ball of wax. But he was able to make the transition as smoothly as he could until such time that the decision was made that, we're not getting anywhere. And again, the biggest challenge was the colors.
Yeah.
And the signature product was an air entangled product, not a twisted product, so it had a little bit rougher feel to it. Was one downside, but the upside of that is it had a more flat appearance. So it's
there's a tiger here. I'll have to show you before you leave.
A live tiger.
Yeah,
No,
I'll be leaving now.
It's a tiger. It was sewn with A&E thread.
Yeah.
And
Is it the one on the vest?
maybe so.
That one.
I think I've seen it, yeah.
And Ted Yamaui, who was president, he was here in the States for a long time. He's been gone. He went back to Japan, I think, in 2006 or something. But anyway, we'd sewn this tiger, and Max Tripp gave me some A&E thread to sew it. And I sewn this big tiger. It's got like 200,000 stitches in it. It's beautiful. And Ted looked at it, and he said, "What kind of thread is that?" And I said, "Well, it's A&E." He said, "I don't like it." I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with it?" He said, "It's too flat. It just doesn't have any color." And at that time, that was a knock on A&E. It didn't have a sheen to it. He wanted something that was real shiny.
Right.
I thought it looked good. And the thread said, and I will say this, Madeira's good thread, A&E's good. I tell everybody all the time, we don't sell thread. We have thread kits that we can put with the machine, but we don't stock thread. We're not in the supply business. We're in the machine business. But I'll plug 3 or 4 brands, and I'm like, you make up your own mind. The machine's going to sew fine on any of them. Madeira kind of got their foot in the door.
They did a great job. They did a great marketing job at the very beginning and got on with a lot of the brands and the leagues. And Robes and Anton, prior to A&E buying them, that was not their market. They were going for the promotional local mom and pop type.
Yeah.
And that really came back to hurt the Robes and Anton brand in the end, because so many brands spec'd their color. So even if you were a Robes and Anton house and you landed a big contract, they said, well, that's fine, but you have to use
right
this. And even though you could show them a cone dead match side by side, they didn't want to take the chance. They would actually go by, and then you got to, a lot of times they didn't convert, but they would carry both at that point, and they would have a section that was just Madeira for just this program. Like Coca-Cola, for one, would be one, say. That red was, my God, that's what you had to have.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, any of us stand here, you put them side by side, 3 feet away from each other, you couldn't tell the difference from the average person couldn't tell the difference, but the person that made the decision could.
Yeah.
Well, probably too, price had something to with it too. I know there was a little thread war going on there for a while. People were going back and forth. Companies were going back and forth. Well, I'll sell it to you for 50 cents a cone cheaper or whatever. But a lot of shops I go into, though, there'll be 2 or 3 different brands of thread on the machines.
Yeah. Because they've done something in the past, and that's what they had to use.
I don't think anybody is. It's very rare I go into a shop and it's all Madeira or all ropes and Anton or coats.
Isocord. I mean, they'll have something because they got a program.
And you got people who love they swear by this brand, and that's fine. Brand loyalty is good, but like you said, if something had been sewn years ago, and it's back to that, hey, that's the way we've always done it. We're not going to change. That's kind of what they do.
Well, speaking of thread, while we're talking about thread, I did bring you a couple spools of thread to try.
You did, and I'm looking forward to trying it. So, tell us about your new thread.
Well, one of the companies that I represent now is Ozen, Ozen USA, and everything's produced in Turkey, but they carry a full line of sewing thread in the Eastern Europe, Middle Eastern Europe market. They're a major player. And they're really looking to expand in the U.S., and we've done a good job in the past 5 to 10 years working with them to achieve that in other markets. And I didn't even know they had an embroidery thread till we were at a trade show, and I was looking at some information. The guy says, oh, yeah, we sell a ton of that stuff. And he said, do you know anything about embroidery thread? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. But I knew enough that, just like we've been talking, I don't want to get into the color war again. I fought that war for 15 years. But white and black is white and black in most cases. And I didn't know until I started selling embroidery thread that there's 3 whites and 4 blacks. But there's still a basic snow white and jet black.
This is called natural, by the way.
Well, that's that's white is the natural color of the thread. But we're going to bring it in white and black, 5,000 meters.
It's got a nice sheen to it.
Put it out there, see what we can get going, and we'd be happy to work with you. And the biggest thing would be we will have the inventory in place, and I'm sure I can be extremely price attractive at this point. I'm not ready to throw price points out there yet.
Is there going to be a website or anything that people, if somebody wanted to buy this in the next month or two, how would they go about it?
They would need to contact me, and do y'all post that on here?
Oh, yeah.
He will.
Yeah.
Just give me a call or shoot me an email and let me know what you're interested in, and we'll get you some samples and get you some pricing information. It's like I tell a lot of people, right now we're just getting started on this. I don't have a tremendous inventory here, but you give me 8 weeks to get a container over here, and we can put substantial amount of inventory in, and we would ship. We'd probably we would have a minimum order of 12, and get it out to you and see what you think. I will say this: I have run it through a number of places through some former distributors of mine, and they've run it fine with absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Well,
but if I can come over here and get a Bob Stone endorsement,
it will be on.
Nothing better.
I will be on one of these machines. I promise you that.
But yeah, we'd love to talk to somebody about it if I can help anybody. And it's funny. And I'm going to tangent off here, like you say. As you look at your career and things that you've done and why you want to sell and why you want to do that, when you first start selling, you just want to make money, and that's the most important thing to you. But as you get into it and do more and more, you really just want to help people.
Yeah.
You really just want to talk to somebody, understand what they're doing. And, if I can do something to help you, great. And if I can't, I've made money. So I'm not saying I'm a millionaire, but I'm not desperate to make a sale to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But if I can help you, and that's really what I'm looking at. If this helps you out, if you can get your black and white, which is 60 to 80% of what you do, and save you some money, so be it. Let's do it.
I like that.
Yeah,
philosophy.
that's I say that all the time. It's like, I'm not here. It makes me feel better. I sleep fine at night if I made somebody happy, or I don't care about the money. I mean, it's great to make money, but my conscience will tear me apart. I can't do somebody wrong.
Oh, it's nothing worse than
Yeah.
you do something happens and somebody blames you for something that you really didn't have anything to do with. Oh my God! Now I've got a bad impression.
Yeah.
You don't want to be embarrassed, and you don't want to make somebody else have a problem because of something that you did.
Yeah.
And you're right. That'll eat away at you.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I'm not too terribly old yet, but I learned that very early that being able to lay down at night and have a clear conscience, and you did everything you could to make somebody happy, or if at the end of the day, if they buy your product, great. If not, and they're happy, I'm good.
Yeah. Just the relationship is the key.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder to develop in today's social media. It's
Oh, yeah.
how many friends do your kids have? Well, I go to 5,000. I said, no, I mean, how many people do you talk to face to face or recognize? Not the picture they post and so forth. And I see it, and it's changing, and I can't stop the change.
No.
But at the end of the day, when it's something needs to be done, who do they go to? The person they've known forever that's been able to help them, not the latest Johnny-come-lately on this thing. But
Well, selling, you got to sell a product too that you have complete faith in. I see, and I would never mention any names or any other products, but I see people selling inferior product, whether it's thread, embroidery machine, backing, whatever. And I want to think that in their heart they think they're selling the best thing. But I'm also like, I couldn't sell that. I couldn't sleep at night to tell somebody, oh, this is the best right here. I mean, when it's not, and they know it's not. And I don't want to burst anybody's bubble or ruin their career, but we trade shows. You learn so much at trade shows from customers, and what I want to hear what people are saying about us. I want to see what's going on in the industry. I want to see what the competition is doing, but I want to hear what the competition is telling prospects, especially new people who are. I feel sorry for new people when it comes to supplies, thread, machines, because they get told so many things.
Right. Overwhelming.
Yeah. And a lot of it's not true. And I used to think, well, they're just lying to them. But I don't think they are lying. I think that in their heart, they probably believe they have the best, or they'll say, well, this machine is just as good as Barrington. Well, no, it's not. And when those people come and ask me, they'll say, well, they say they've got the best machine. And I'm like, well, I always say they should tell you that. If he believes in his product, he should tell you that. I'm not going to bash him. I will never do that. And I never want any of my guys to do that either. And I know that, and I got good people. But I said, well, let me tell you why mine's better. And then you sell your product.
Yeah.
You don't bash that other. You just don't. And if you don't think yours is better, then you need to go sell the other one, because to me it's pretty simple. It's common sense. That's kind of the way it worked. I mean, when I got in this industry, I didn't know what a Barrington was. I had no idea.
Nobody did.
No. I mean, I stumbled into it, and I love it. I got a passion for it. And I've been here a lot longer than I thought I would ever be here. I kind of thought I'll do this for a while and go. I was my movie star career wasn't working, so I had to do something.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So.
What kind of movie?
But it's nice to talk to I love talking to the salespeople and to pick their brain a little bit. And you and I have had tons of conversations at the diner down the road here, where we just had lunch.
You love that place, I hear, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
I do too. That's a great thing.
It's always good food, good service.
That's what I love about a diner. It's consistent.
Yeah.
Do you know what he had a club sandwich? You know what I had
at breakfast?
He knows me.
That's what I get too every time I'm there.
And I just not finished a huge breakfast this morning. I was eyeing. Then he made me feel bad because I said, I'm going to go and, like I said, I usually don't eat a lot of bread, potatoes, and everything. I said, I'm just good comfort. I'm going to get a club sandwich. He goes, yeah, that does sound good. Then she comes up and ordered, and I thought he was going to get one too.
Yeah, he's like,
I'll have the vegetable omelet. No cheese, no bread. I said, "You sounds right."
I
won't change my order.
I'll
just have water.
I'll get a cup of water, please.
Yeah,
I get breakfast every time.
I
My
do too.
wife and
It's without
I could eat breakfast at dinner. That's one of my favorite dinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go to Ruth Chris' house and order an egg, but
It's $70.
that's right.
For the egg.
Yeah,
They actually bring you a chicken. They were like, get an egg out of this thing.
You have to wait.
Yeah. Just pet him. Pet her. Excuse me.
Let's get off this tangent. Like we never get on a tangent.
Yeah.
So where do you see? Where do you see the industry going? What do you see going on? You think it's going to stay strong? Do you have
Well,
any
there's
opinion
kind of
on
two
it?
sides of that. If you took the COVID factor out of it and the effect that it's had, I don't know that there'd be a huge change. I mean, just like you said, you've exhausted your opportunity. There's always going to be some new, maybe foil or new backing seems to be new all the time.
Yeah.
But as far as thread, it's really, really hard to do anything too different than what's out there. Now, put the COVID factor back in. When I talk about the industry, so much of this embroidery industry is trade show oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, people buying gear for their company to go to the trade show, or people giving promotional items to their employees. And it not working with a major supplier to that industry, not having trade shows almost killed us for a year, because so much of that, I mean, it's unbelievable. You have no idea how many trade shows. I know we've been to a lot. There's a whole lot more.
Oh, I know.
And
yeah.
they buy trinkets, they buy tchotchkes, and then they embroider their hats and their shirts, and they give away stuff and screen print and just any kind of printing. That once COVID lifted restrictions and we're starting to see more trade shows, but now, and you may agree with this or not, when you go to a trade show now, it used to be a trade show was where you went and you took the owner and the buyer and 2 or 3 supervisors. It was almost a treat to take these people, especially if it was in a big city. And now all you see, the crowd is, I'd say, at least a third less than what it used to be. But the people there are quality people. They're the people that make the decisions, and they're the people that they want to talk to you. They're not just coming over to see what are you giving away or will you go take me to dinner.
Yeah.
So I don't think that will ever change. I've always said there's too many damn trade shows. I mean, there's no reason to have a trade show, especially for machinery people. Every year, you can't come out with a brand new machine every year. But every other year makes more sense. But, then you're killing the companies that put on trade shows. That's cutting them in half.
Well, that's where I might disagree with you just a little bit, is that because there's so many new people getting into it, that they want to go somewhere where they can see this stuff. So
that's true too. Yeah,
we see a lot more new people. The people that have machines don't come anymore.
No,
they don't. Do they, Brandon?
No. They'll tell you too. Like, I'm not
that
going.
was changing.
They'll just call in and place an order.
Yes, that was changing before COVID. It used to be that you would get your big corporate accounts would come and it would say, hey Bob, I'm coming to town to the show. You want to go out and get dinner tonight, or go get some drinks or something, or what do you want to do? And you always went and entertain those people. They probably weren't going to buy anything, but what it helped me as a manager, I would pick their brain and try to find out where's it going? What are you doing this year? You see any machine purchases on the horizon, you think? And some of them would say, yeah, we're looking at this much expenditures and I want to replace some machines. I want to do this. Well, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, those old guys like us aren't there anymore.
Right.
They've either companies have been bought out, or they've got rid of the good old boys and the good old girls that we had. I used to know everybody at every major company. I've known them for years. They're gone. Mm-hmm. They're replaced with some bean counter in Chicago that doesn't know an embroidery machine from a camel's hump. And I'm not being mean about it. It's truly how things are bought now. You got a buyer sitting in the office that's looking at all these machines, and that one's the cheapest. I'm buying that one. Mm-hmm. And then the people in the factory suffer from it, and they wonder the embroidery. The plant manager who's been running Bairdens or Tajima's forever, gets this other brand X piece of crap, and the bean counter's like, man, your
Your efficiencies
production
are down.
is really gone down. What's
Guess
wrong?
what?
How many seconds have you
know
got?
what? Well, and the guy can't say, well, you made a stupid decision buying this, and which he probably should, because he's on his way out anyway.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of these people. I mean, it's kind of funny how this is really turned. The tables have turned on this, and it's business is really different than what it was when I first got into it. When I first got into it, it was a lot of loyalty. I mean, people just picked up and ordered and this, and I never say you never want to rest on your laurels, and you never want to take advantage of. They're go buy machines, because I still get out and see these people. It's
Right.
been hard like before COVID, but it's my year I'd be out hitting Cutter and Buck, Nike, UniFirst, on and on and on and on and on. Not that the small people aren't important. I try to see these people too, because they are important. They're just as important as the big guys. But the big guys buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Mm-hmm. That's change. It's almost like every 4 or 5 years you have to go resell the person.
Yeah. It's a new person.
I remember going to a company in Wisconsin that everybody's had. I guarantee you got stuff in your closet, hanging in your closet from this company. And they had bought some brand X machines. Broke my heart. Bought them on price. I had a really close friend up there that was the maintenance guy, and he told me, he said, they're going to buy these machines. And I'm like, I said, man, I got nowhere to go on price.
Yeah.
I got nowhere to go. Lost the deal. 3 years later, these machines weren't running, and they asked me to come up there. And I was going in every year visiting them, but they had a new person there. And I'm sitting in this conference room looking out over the embroidery floor, and it's a sea of blue. And the guy sits there and says, so, why should I buy your machine? Isn't that a smack in the head?
Yeah.
And well, you
I'd have been
and
like,
I'm like, well, here's what I said. I said, I'm sitting here looking over your shoulder, and from here I can see Bairdens that are 20 years old that we still support, we still have parts for, we are still running, and they make a beautiful stitch. I said, I think they kind of sell themselves. And I said, I'd like to see your return on investment on that when you bought that machine. You could hurt a pin drop. And I'm not saying that, I didn't say this to say, yeah, I'm just a really smart guy.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think of at the time. And that's what I was thinking. I'm saying, you're asking me this when this is where you guys have made your money.
Well, yeah, as the person who is over that company, that should have never even been a conversation. I've been like, well, these have been here forever.
Well, they were bought out of another town by Bean Counter. And
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
this is what happened.
And that's what happens. And you never know who you're going to walk into anymore, because people change so much.
But going back to these trade shows, I got off on a tangent there. But going back to these trade shows, I mean, everybody shops online now.
Oh, yeah.
I get every week I get a report from our internet, not internet provider. What do you call it?
Don't ask me.
They send me a report, how many web hits we got. I mean, it's the average rate, how many pages they look at on our website. It's got like 10 different things on there. And I'd never taken that seriously, because I'm from the old school, like you and me. Get out and see people, shake hands.
It's good information, though.
But I'm telling you, it's really opened my eyes. And there's a couple companies out there that do a lot better job marketing at a much inferior product. They pour tons of money into it, but it's not a very good product. But they sell them, and
Well,
people get them, and they say, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have bought this." And I ask them, "Well, why did you buy it?" Well, they had this really nice website.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, "Well,
I think that's one of our, we've talked about it before. That's one of the struggles, Bairdens being as small as it is, and it is small. There's not a dedicated team to do that
Right.
stuff.
You have to have somebody, if you're going to have a chat
That's a
room and
24/7
a
job.
blog.
Yeah.
Because people today, if you don't respond right back,
Oh.
you're gone. You're
Yeah.
history.
yeah."
And it's very hard to do. And because I used to have that argument when I was at A&E, we ought to have that. And they've, once I had somebody sit down and explain that to me, and that would be my job, I agreed. No, we don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, you've got to, and so you can't just go hire some company in India to respond. Well, I shouldn't say India, but hire an outside sourced company to do that.
Indiana.
Yeah,
Indiana. That's what you meant to say.
Because you got to be extremely knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So do you want your most knowledgeable person doing that? Or, I mean, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. But another thing that's talking about getting off on tangents, on trade shows, when I said that about trade shows, first I was talking about in general, not just embroidery trades. But I do know that I remember seeing this, and especially with COVID, there's a lot of people that decided, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to get my own gig going.
Yeah.
And those are the people you're talking about. They wanted to, a couple of three one heads, and set it up in their garage, and they can buy this stuff online, and it's good quality. I mean, they can buy ropes and Anton, they can buy my product, and everybody online, they can get what they need. And they're going to be invested in it enough to learn how to adjust that machine and make that machine run. And they'll do okay. Their biggest competition now is the guy down the street. Because every little town you go into, there's somebody doing the local band and the local church and the local market. Somebody's doing all that. And it's not a great big company because
they're probably doing it out of the garage.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Sounds familiar.
In the same vein, the guys that started the big companies out there now, most of them started in their garage.
Yeah.
And it got bigger. So I've never looked away from a small person that came in and started talking to you, because you never know when it's going to be the next biggest, hit, 4 imprints, whatever.
Well,
that's how they all got started.
Yeah.
That's my favorite customer, is somebody that's new, and watching them learn and grow. Lady I went to go see down in Charlotte, brand new, she is crushing it. I love to hear that. That makes me, these big companies,
about it.
I mean, she's eating this stuff up. She's like sending me designs and like, look at what I learned. I'm like, this is great. Yeah. That means a lot more to me than, a giant company. Not that we don't need those, but they're doing fine.
Well, I don't know if I should say, I'm going to say this. This is probably not going to sound right. I'm going to try to say it.
This ought to be good.
No, it's just, you've heard me say this, and I've always thought this from the start. And I tell all my reps this, is we're not out there to sell every single customer an embroidery machine. Mm-mm. There are people that are going to buy on price, just like they're going to buy thread or bobbins or backing or anything else. They don't care about the quality. The bulk of our customers, I'm going to say 95% of our customers, will have researched the hell out of us. And if you do enough research, you understand that Barrington is the best machine out there. And there's another one out there that's a good machine too. I think we're better, and we can sit down someday and talk about that. I just think our customers that do that research, and sometimes the buying cycles too. I have seen people at a trade show that I've talked to. The next year I'll talk to them. Have you bought a machine yet? No, we're still researching it. I'm like, what else is there to research? And we're just about to make a decision. Okay, well, you ready to do something here now? No, we're about a year out. I'm like, but they do buy it, and they do, because you can find out anything you want to know online now. Anything.
All whether it's true or not.
Well, that's the other thing too. There's a lot of misinformation out there too. I mean, these forums drive me crazy. One person has a little bit of a problem, and they go running to everybody else and says it sucks. No, let's, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But there's so much information now out there that sometimes it may go against you a little bit. But when people come to me and the first thing they ask me is how much is that machine, they are never going to buy a machine.
No, right.
And I shouldn't do this, but if somebody comes up and says, well, how much is it? I try to qualify them and talk to them, and if they just keep saying how much is it, I just kind of give them just a little bit of information and send them on their merry way, because they're going around looking to see which one's the cheapest. And it goes back to the new people, who I feel so sorry for, because they get so much information. They go to every machine manufacturer out there who tells them they have the best machine, it's got the best stitch quality, blah, 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 and they're very confused. I've even had them tell me, now which one are you now?
Yeah.
I've seen so many of them.
We're the good one.
Yeah. And I just want to set them down and pour my heart out to them and tell them, here's what you need, whether you buy our machine or not. Bob Stone's going to eat dinner tonight. I'm going to sleep in my bed. I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to be in the poorhouse tomorrow. I'm going to be okay whether you buy it or not. I want you to buy it, but if you don't, I'm not going to die. Mm-hmm. You know, I hate to lose a sale when somebody comes by and says, well, I bought something else. That's like sticking a knife in my heart.
Right.
Again, I'm going to eat, but I'm just, it's not the money part. And it really isn't. I don't worry about the money. The money's going to come.
The money's going to come. That's exactly right.
And my dad told me this years ago, and I said, you're not very smart, Pops. He was the smartest man I ever knew. The money will come if you're doing what you like to do. Now, sometimes the money ain't a whole lot. Sometimes it's really pretty good. And other times it's like, ooh, I had a short month. But in the long run, if you stick by your principles, be honest with people, and what Brandon says, want to help them and see them do well, the money's going to come. It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just want to, it's hard for me to educate people without being biased. You know, mm-hmm. I would really like to, I thought about writing a book about embroidery, and I still may when I retire. I just, you know, not the name, just what to look for in a machine, and the, you know, all companies have their faults. You can have one bad experience with a company. Well, tech support and call me back. Well, unfortunately, that day they had 30 calls,
right,
and people on the phone.
Building burned down. Yeah.
You know, I mean, but you can't say that's a horrible company because one time. You know, and if there's a pattern of that, then we got an issue. Management needs to get involved. But I guess what I'm trying to say, my main point to all this is if you really truly love the industry and you want to see it flourish and do well, and you want your customers to do well, you have to have more than just a monetary interest in it. You have to really want the customer to succeed. When you go to bed at night, just like Brandon said, I've had customers that I've sold single heads to 20 years ago that now have a bunch of multi-heads. And it makes me feel good that they trusted me enough to where they bought that first machine, and they'll say, well, you know, Barrett and Bob Stone didn't send us off on the wrong foot, and we've flourished and done really well. That's to me at the end of the day, because you can't take your money with you.
No.
When they screw you into the ground, at least that person says, "Oh yeah, I knew Bob Stone. Oh what? Oh, he got hit by a Greyhound bus? Well, he was a really good guy. Yeah. He sold me my first machine."
Yeah, that stuff's so much more important. Like honestly, and I feel like in this world and society, everything's so fast paced and technology based. Kind of got to pump the brakes a little bit, and you know, just be nice to people, give them their answers. If they have problems, help them, and it will take care of itself. That's my
I want to put a plug in for Charles too. I've known Charles, not a long time, but I've known him, and the first time I met him, I knew he was full of crap.
Yeah,
but that's,
where are you going with this, Bob?
No, I knew you.
Hit that button.
I knew what you were talking about, and you know what, you and I have never done any business really. We just always been friends.
Right. I mean, you don't buy anything I sell, and
no.
I don't buy anything you sell.
Why do I even like you?
I'm not sure. Well, I used to buy your lunch, but today you bought mine.
Yeah, but it just and I've told you this: the good people in the industry that've been around, latch on to them. It's really important because there aren't a whole lot of them out there, and the ones that are still out there, hey, we're getting old. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking about retirement today. And I know Brandon's just getting into it, and I'm very proud that he is. I'm proud that he's decided to follow in my footsteps because it's an awesome career with good people in it and great customers. And
I had no other choice. I'm just kidding.
But you know, I've been taught. You've taught me a lot of stuff, and you truly have. And you can't. You want to learn to be a better. It makes you a better salesperson.
Yeah.
It allows you to help your customers better. And if you don't know the answer, hey, I can call Charles, or I can call dozens of other people that I've known for years that can help me with this. I know if looking at me, I'll look like I'm a very intelligent person, but I'm not. I know it's hard for you to believe.
I just how quiet it is.
I threw up in my mouth.
Come on. Yeah. No, but
that's not where I thought he was going with that at all.
Either.
No, but I mean, again, we want to help him with his thread. And he's one of the good guys in the industry.
Having resources and relationships with people means the world. Like, knowing that I have people I can call on and say, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or do you have something that will fix X, Y, and Z? Like, I don't need to know it, but if I know somebody who does know it, that's the person they need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I had a guy call in. I mean, and this happens all the time. I have a guy call in, and he wanted to do beanies. What do you have to do beanies? And I said, well, we don't have anything really, but let me tell you who does. I got no problem sending them to somebody that can sell them a product.
Yep.
Like a Mighty Hoop or a clamping system, you know, like the guys at Hoop Tech, Hoop Master, Jesse and those guys over there. And do I get anything out of it? No, but I don't want anything out of it. I'm helping a customer that bought our machine, and hopefully he'll remember that when he's looking for
come
another
back.
machine.
Yeah.
And I know you do the same thing too. You know, I don't have the product, but they do.
Here it is.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people do that. They'll just say, I don't know how you do it, because they don't want to give somebody that business.
That's
well,
right.
why wouldn't you? You're
Or
not
they'll
gonna
make
get it
something
anyway.
up.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah. If you don't know, I do it all day long. I don't know, but I'll find out before I can get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to your conscience. Have one. That's my point.
So your other business.
Yeah, you need
touch
to
on that a little?
plug and
Custom
promote all your-
advertising.
Yes. Go.
Is a good long-term friend of mine, and I'd always joked with him that whenever I retired, that was going to be my encore career. And then when I got retired sooner than I thought, it became my career. For
Choosing
a
to
period of time.
retire and then being retired. That's two different things.
Custom advertising, we're a promotional products marketing advertising company based in Advance, North Carolina, but one of the larger companies in the region, and we do our own in-house screen printing, we do our own in-house embroidery, printing, and all the little tchotchkes and things that I never even knew existed. We can put your name or somebody else's name on there. We do that all day long and do a great job. David, boy, if you talk about somebody that's passionate about what they do, he is truly passionate about it. He started this. He's actually a professional hockey player and got injured and got out of the game and kind of picked this up as a sideline and has taken it ever since, and he has done just a fantastic job with it. And anything we can help you with on that, we'd be happy to talk to you. And we again, everybody we've just talked about how the person you should be and care and help and be of service. That's Dave in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And he and I think that's one of the reasons we get along so well is because we agree. I mean, if we're going to do something, you're going to do it right, or you're just going to go back and say, we really appreciate it, but that's just not what you're wanting to do.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want something for nothing. It's, as I told you, it was going to be just a kind of a side. It's fascinating just to do all the stuff to do. They work you to death.
Do you ever go to any of those shows? Those, what do you call it?
The big IS, yeah. I have not with him. I have
what
not.
are those called? Promotional
Like a
products.
promotional.
Yeah.
You've been to one?
PPAs. And
Yeah, PPAI.
He goes, I have not been to one since I've come on. I mean, I'm a small player in his little operation.
We used to do one.
Yeah, I have been. We've talked about before. The ISS used to couple with that show and have the same show going on at the same time. So I've walked around and seen them.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to be the supplier to the embroidery industry, and then now be on the other side and selling embroidered products. It's you just kind of see it, like I said earlier, from all different sides. But it's another thing out there. Every little bit that you can do, you do, and find out it's fun.
Yeah, that's a big industry too. I think
your mind industry. Yeah. Oh,
how many ink pens can you sell?
Well, I think about working in healthcare, all the promotional stuff we used to get. Or here's
they're huge.
pens.
Healthcare
Tell
insurance.
me
If you
about
can get
it.
some healthcare,
Tell
some
me about
insurance
it.
companies.
Well, I know some people. So,
Where does ink come from? What do they use for ink now? In ink pens.
For
an ink pen?
I have no idea.
For an ink pen.
We don't make the pens; we just sell them.
Well, I know.
Yeah, but I have no idea.
If I came to you and said, "Hey, Charles, I want to buy some ink pens," would you say, "Well, here, we have the quill pen here"?
No, you would say we have these types of pens.
Yeah, we have this
gel
type.
ink.
Trust me.
Yeah,
if you want the quill pens, we can get you the
quill pen.
Yeah,
with my name on it.
If you want that.
Well, could you get buried in on the feather?
Yes, let me get my notepad. But yeah, I mean, it's out there, and pens there's a gazillion of them.
Yeah,
I know.
We've got 2 brands that we know do a great job for us, and that's who we push people towards. And most people they come here and say, I want a pen, I won't pay more than 35 cents for it. And I said, well, you're going to get a 35-cent pen then. Okay.
yeah,
But if you'll go up to 63 cents, you can get, just like we said earlier, you can get,
yeah.
you want a pen that somebody's going to write 3 times and throw it away, or you want one that they're going to write in over and over and over, and it becomes their favorite pen, and they carry it around in their pocketbook or their briefcase. That's what you want.
I got a question. This has something to do with the pen.
Okay.
Why does the president, when he's signing a bill, why does he use like a bunch of pens?
Because they give them away for.
Is that what they do? Is that
Yeah.
the only reason?
Is that real?
Could not write my name.
And stop halfway in the middle.
Could
And
you?
you can write Joe and then Biden or Joseph, however he signs. Yeah, that's why they do it. Because then at the end of the day, they'll, oftentimes they'll take that, whatever it is he signed, and they frame it, and they give it to whomever it benefits the most, or whoever the congressperson was. Whoever wants one, you raise your hand and say you want one, they'll get you one. That's like the flag. They fly a flag over the Capitol every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's yours if you want it. If you apply, you say, I would like to get one, and the reason why, and I don't know if you pay for them or if they're donated, because I've been before with youth groups, and at the end, when you got back, they mailed it to you because you were at the Capitol that day and you took a picture, and your senator, I mean, that's how you get them. You go to your senator or your representative, and they dole them out.
So
That's
every day
crazy.
of the year,
Every single day was
I
something.
figured they kept it till it got.
Oh, hell.
See, I fly
You talking about the flag?
the U.S. flag.
Hey, I knew that part. The pen thing. That's fascinating.
I didn't know that with the
Yeah,
pen.
that's why they do it.
I've always, I watched every president.
Yeah.
They do this, and they put.
And you put it back, and it's in like a wooden box with a glass. Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? Some kind of
Well, I know there's companies that I've sold
Anti-forgery?
very nice pens to, and they want it specifically so when they sign a big contract with somebody, they get that pen out, and they all sign with that pen, and then they give it to the customer. I mean, you're talking about a Mont Blanc type. I mean, that level of a pen, and that's what they give them to keep and it's in a nice box, and it's gift wrap. I mean, it's a presentation, and generally it ends up sitting on somebody's desk. Nobody ever uses it, but that's when we inked this. Next time you sell somebody 10, 12 head machines, you get them a nice Barrett pen and give it to them.
nobody signs orders anymore. We do it. We do it on.
all
We do
electronically.
electronic
But-
signatures.
It's the symbolism.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I love a good pen. There are dozens of pen on that. I use one pen.
Yeah.
And I love that pen. And I would pay, if that pen was $100, I'd pay $100 for it.
I have a red ink pen. I like a red ink pen for some things, and I have a black ink.
He's got it right with it to make sure.
I had a lot of teachers that were fond of that red ink pen.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
me too.
Yeah.
Well, every now and then I have to
Yeah.
put clamp down on. We're not approving this.
Jamie's behind you.
Hey, pay no attention. She's going to do the crawl.
No, she's going to walk through. Look there's Jamie, everybody.
Hey, Jamie, where you going? Bathroom?
Yeah.
I
That's all about ink pens, folks.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
But we cannot embroider on an ink pen so far.
I'll fix that.
Yeah.
Let me talk to the.
It'd be a
let me
tough
talk to
needle.
Barrett and let me
Yeah.
talk to
Not
Barrett.
piercing.
That machine would punch right through an ink pen, but you might break some needles, that's for sure.
It might.
Yeah. Yeah, anything else that you want to promote and go over again that we may have glanced over?
I'm excited
I
to
don't
sew
know.
I want to sew this thread. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good. I am too. Like I said, I will say in all the years that I've sold A&E thread, A&E, and I truly believe A&E had an excellent quality product. The products that I've gotten from this company, I've sewn directly behind them in a number of different operations. Put it right on, it sews all day. It's an excellent quality product. It really is. And I'd be interested to see what you say. If anybody's interested, we'd be love to talk to you. And again, black and white. We're not trying to get into the color business, and we do not have bobbins at this point. But I'd be happy to talk to you about bobbins.
Yeah. I was going to say, is that something you might do down the road, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay. I'm not holding you to anything.
Well, the thing is, it's like everything else. You can't get the equipment. We're
yeah,
waiting
yeah.
on equipment now.
No way.
Believe it or not.
I believe it.
So, and then you got to make them.
Yeah.
she's coming back through.
Yeah. Look at her. Everybody just stare at her.
She's walking a lot slower.
You could have walked out the front door and into the back.
She can't. She don't have a key.
That's right.
Oh, that's
oh,
fair.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, she's just trapped in
But
there.
no, I mean, listen, I appreciate you guys. When you first asked me about doing this, I went, what's a podcast?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had to call up and say, sure you want to do
No,
this?
that's been
You're
good.
you're great.
You're a
And-
natural.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll come back again sometime. Like I said,
Absolutely.
Open
I've mentioned
invite.
some people to you that you may want to talk to
Yeah.
and go from there.
Yeah,
But
it's
thanks a lot.
yeah. Thank you.
And
And,
I will definitely sow this. I'm really looking forward to sowing this thread.
yeah,
Anything new. We don't get much new stuff around here, so
no, we don't. We feel we're neglected, especially me. Like I'm back there. Nobody really knows I'm even alive. So.
Well, if you hadn't coughed, I would have known you was back there.
Exactly.
I was scared it's a self-exam, so I didn't come in.
Yeah.
scared of what?
It might have been a self-exam.
I do have to do this fairly often. It was recommended by my physician.
No, we keep him back there in the back.
Yeah.
He stays in his little cubby hole back there, and he's welcome to move up to the front.
I'm moving at some point. I'm heading up that way, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll put all your information and stuff in the
Yeah.
in the description of the podcast and the links and all that stuff. And
Okay, fantastic.
yeah,
Thank you.
and I got your information, and I will share it along. I have people all day long, so
Well, you can call me too, just like your daddy does.
Yeah. Man, I
will.
hadn't seen you in a while though. I was.
Well, we all
with
were laying low for so
This
long.
COVID stuff. I mean, it's almost like learning to be friends again.
Yeah.
It's
There's a song in there somewhere.
probably
so.
yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Let's stop before he starts singing.
Yeah. He's got a guitar back there.
I got my guitar. Hey, don't tempt me.
Don't tempt me with a good
I
time.
could write a song really quickly. Well, I can't now. I can't.
Now you need a new ink pen.
I know a guy sells them.
Have I got a pen for you?
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, everybody go like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And yeah, make sure to check out Charles' products. And like I said, the links and stuff will be in the description. So see you guys on the next one. Appreciate it. Adios.
Adios.
Oh.